Hi, my name is David, but you can call me Skiff, and welcome back to another episode of Notflix, the show about other shows. Today we are discussing Netflix's original series, Insatiable Season 1, Episode 8, titled Wieners and Losers. If you haven't watched the episode yet, I'm warning you now, there will be spoilers, so go ahead and do that first and then come right back. But if you have watched the episode, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So the last time we saw Patty, she had just run away with Christian. Flashing forward to this week, Christian and Patty are at what I can only assume is a motel. And it looks like they are about to have sex. And in the voiceover, we hear that Patty thinks that perhaps she's been cursed, or she thought she was cursed her entire life to be fat and lonely, and now she wasn't, and she's found a beautiful man, and she was willing to do whatever it was going to take to keep him. So she tells him that she's never done this before, and he says it's okay, and she loses her virginity to Christian in a motel. Which, I guess the only thing I can say is that no one's first time is the best. Right? That's the only thing I can say. But after they're done, because that's the next take that we have, Patty tells Christian that she loves him, and he rolls over and says, yeah, that was fun. Which, of course, like, they're teenagers. This is, like, 100% like what one would expect of a teenage relationship after they've just had sex. It's very typical, and at the end of the day, whether or not they're 17 and they're mature, or they're 18 and they're immature, it's like, you don't really know what a romantic type of love is yet, and you're sort of confusing this sort of sexual relationship with actual love. I mean, that's just sort of my interpretation of it all, and it's the way that I see things. Please comment down below if you think I'm wrong. I'm happy to take the criticism, but that's just sort of like where I see things when it comes to teenage relationships, right? It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and Patty is still awake, and she is regretting having left with Christian, and she's like, why did I do this? Am I just an idiot? What have I done? I just slept with this man, and he told me that it was fun, and she lists off a few things that are actually fun, and then she checks her phone, and she sees a slew of text messages from Bob, and the last one being that she's won Miss Magic Jesus. So she calls him, and he explains to her like what happened with Magnolia, and he's like, you need to come home. You have 12 hours to claim the crown. Do you want it? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, look, I've put so much into this, and he basically says, please don't give up on us. We can win this. So she comes home. Now, we're at the pastor's office with Christopher Gorham and Dixie. Magnolia has gone to rehab officially, and Dixie is the second runner-up. So if Patty doesn't show up, Dixie gets the crown. And Christopher Gorham is sort of having this conversation with Dixie about how he thinks that pageants are toxic and that she shouldn't even worry about the crown, and maybe she shouldn't even be doing pageants to begin with. And she then explains to him that she's got all of these disorders, I guess it's the best way to put it, and that pageants for her are actually a good thing, and that they're something that she can channel all this energy into, which, you know what? I think that's admirable. But she says that when the plan changes, that's when things are not great, and so don't change the plan on her. And then in walks Patty, and the plan has been changed, so, you know, she's fighting to keep that crown, and she's losing her mind, and she shows us that crazy. Flashing forward, 2 weeks have passed. Patty is in love with being a beauty queen. She's sort of like reveling in the idea of being the most famous person in her town. which I think is adorable. And of course, like, she should be on cloud nine, but Bob reminds her that they've got a lot of work to do and she needs to find a sponsor because pageants are not going to be cheap, especially a regional pageant. It's going to cost her upwards of $5,000, so it's important for her to find a sponsor that is going to fall in line with her platform. So, conveniently, Donald's father has sold the liquor and stuff, the liquor store, and has purchased this particular franchise of the Wiener Taco, which gives Patty the idea that the Wiener Taco should be the sponsor. And they explain to them what and how having Patty, and why actually having Patty as a sponsor or as a spokesperson for the Wiener Taco is a good thing, and how it falls in line with her platform of leading a healthier lifestyle. And they suggest a whole new leaner wiener menu, which I think is cute and clever. And it is what it is because this is the world we live in now. And they agree to sponsor her. Now she comes home, she tells her mom the good news, and her mom is like, great, we both have good news. I got my period. And Patty's like, oh crap. Now this is where the bulk of the storyline for this week is actually centered around. So Patty then thinks, or realizes that she hasn't had her period in a couple weeks and she might be pregnant. Now she's like, in her head, she's like, I definitely am cursed. I had sex for the first time, I lose my virginity, use a condom, and I still get pregnant. Of course this happens to me. I am 100% cursed. And they take the test, and it comes back pregnant. Now while this is happening, Patty's mom gives her some amazing woman-to-woman talks and explains to her how she felt when she found out she was pregnant and what she was going to do. And I think it's such an endearing moment between a mother and a daughter, a single mother who raised this woman, or raised her daughter up to be the woman that she is today. I mean, yes, she definitely made mistakes, but she's trying to make up for it now, and that's all any of us can ask for, right? Is, you know, kids don't come with a manual, and you sort of have to learn as you go along, and that can be difficult, and kids are not easy. Obviously, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, right? So the rest of the episode is centered sort of around, I mean, at least for Patty, is centered around her deciding on whether or not she's going to put the baby up for adoption or decide on having an abortion, and whether or not she's going to tell Christian. Now, her mother is like, I can't tell you what to do, which is, of course, the right thing to say as a parent. You can't force your child to have an abortion. You shouldn't force your child to have the baby and put it up for adoption. Yes, the kid is probably too young to be having a child of their own, but at the end of the day, it is her body, so it should be her choice. That's just the way that I feel. She should have the right to decide on whether or not she wants to raise the baby, whether or not she wants to put it up for adoption, or whether or not she wants to terminate the pregnancy. So, that's just sort of where I stand. You don't have to agree with me, and that's perfectly fine. We can all have our own opinions. But that is what her mother tells her, and she's like, well, maybe we should get another opinion. I mean, go talk to your godfather. So Patty calls Bob, and when she calls him to sort of get his opinion and to sort of sit down and talk to him about what's going on with her, he then has something going on with him. His father is in the hospital. He's had a heart attack, and he's rushed to the hospital where Alyssa Milano, his wife, is there waiting for him. And this is the first time we've seen her since she left, which I think is a good thing. And he goes in to talk, and well, first she says to him, you know, whether or not things are going right with us, or whether or not we're going through a hard patch, or this is good times, I'm still your wife, so I'm here for you. And plus, like, I'm his emergency contact still. He goes in to have a heart-to-heart with his father. And his father tells him that he's been tough on him his entire life because he was jealous of the relationship that Bob had with his mother. And Bob's father was never able to connect with his wife the way that his son was able to connect with her. And they connected and they related to each other on a different level. And that's why he was always so hard on him. And, you know, I thought, again, this was another endearing moment between a parent and a child. And it's great to see Bob happy, if that makes any sense, because it's the first time in a while that we've seen him sort of have this light and this airness to him, where getting to hear that from his father is sort of like a weight lifted off his shoulder. And he gets to take his wife home, and he plans this dinner, and he invites their massage therapist over to give her a massage. And he's like, look, I want to make things better with you, because his father tells him to fight harder for Alyssa Milano, because he's like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to you, so fight harder for her. So he plans this whole romantic gesture for her. And she's like, you know what, that's not gonna work. You can't just buy my love. So let's sit down. She pulls out a bottle of whiskey, 2 shot glasses, and she's like, if we're gonna do this, let's do this, which I think is very admirable. I think it's a really fun way to like hash things out. She's like, we're gonna get drunk and we're gonna have a real heart-to-heart, no holds bar. And they do that, and they go back and forth, and she's asking him questions, he's being honest with her, she's asking him questions, he's being honest with her. And this is like sort of when I realized that this whole relationship that Bob had with Stella Rose sort of mirrors the relationship that he had with his mother, aside from the part that with Stella Rose, it was also romantic. And the relationship that he had with his wife was different, because she doesn't really accept that side of him. But what she does say to him is that it takes a very strong man to allow his woman to shine. And she thanks him for that. And I think that says a lot about Alyssa Milano's character and about how their marriage operates and the trust and the love that they do have for each other. Now, they end up making up, which I think is cute. And what's going on with Patty at the same time is she's sort of lost control. She can't seem to find any help. She can't seem to figure out any answers. But she runs into Nani in the bathroom, and she tells her what's going on with her. And Nani's like, just because I told you that I love you doesn't mean that we still can't be friends, and things don't have to be different. And Patty's like, you know what? That's right. Things don't have to be different. Come over tonight. We'll figure this all out. And they decide, Patty decides to then have an abortion, which is the right choice for her. And she still hasn't made the decision of whether or not she's going to tell Christian. But, you know, she's having fun with her best friend again, and they're rolling around, and Nani's like, look, this isn't gonna work for me. I know that I shouldn't love you, but I can't help it, sort of deal. My body is saying yes, but I know my mind is saying no, sort of kind of deal. So she doesn't sleep over, but I think that that was a very real moment between a newly gay teen and their best friend who is straight. And I thought that was very endearing again. I mean, there's a lot of endearing moments in this episode, and I think that we're finally getting to the meat of the season, even though we're 8 episodes in, there's only 2 episodes left, and we're still learning new things about all these characters. So finally we're getting some depth, I think, and I'm enjoying it.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
The pastor finds out that Patty's pregnant, and he tells her, I have to strip you of your crown. You can't be pregnant. She's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm going to have an abortion. And he's like, that doesn't make it any better. And she's like, well, what do you want me to do? I can't be pregnant. I can't have an abortion. What am I supposed to get married? And in bursts Christian to save the day. And he's like, yes, well, I'll marry you, blah, blah, blah. I love you. I'm sorry about what I said, all this stuff. And she's like, look, it's not right. This isn't what I want. What I want is to terminate the pregnancy. And at that moment, she sort of doubles over in pain, which makes us think that she's having a miscarriage, but come to find out, she's rushed to the hospital. She actually is not pregnant. She has a parasitic twin, which is a twin that you've absorbed in utero that is causing the pain in that general area. Now, the doctor tells her that she doesn't have to remove it immediately, but when she does remove it, it's going to be an 8-week recovery. And so they have regionals coming up, and Bob is like, okay, we'll leave it in there for now, but we'll eventually take care of it when the regionals are done. So Patty goes to the Wiener Taco reopening and unveiling of their food truck, and she gets on top of the food truck, and she's like announcing it, and she's having fun. And earlier on in the episode, I forgot to mention that Bob's father was in the hospital and approached Christopher Gorham's character. This was not on screen. And Christopher Gorham is now Bob's new partner in the law firm. He's left the DA's office and he's now doing private practice. All of this to say, Christopher Gorham and Bob have this drawn-out fight in the bathroom where Bob is attacking Christopher Gorham, and Christopher Gorham is like, look, I need the money. I'm the one who told the pastor that Patty was pregnant. The walls are paper thin, and they're fighting, and they're hitting each other. They're going back and forth. And then Christopher Gorham all of a sudden kisses Bob, which is like mind blown. And he says to Bob that I've been in love with you since we were 14 years old, and that's why I've always been this way towards you, because I knew that I couldn't be around you because I was in love with you. And they're just kissing each other, and it's just like, wow, I did not see this coming. I did actually think, and we can check the tapes, I think I did mention in a previous episode that I thought Bob might be a little bit gay, but I took that back. But obviously he might be, maybe he's bisexual, but Christopher Gorham is clearly gay and hiding it behind this sort of perfect facade of a family which has now completely deteriorated around him. And while all of this is happening, Patty is on top of the food truck having a fight with Dixie, and she's punching her, and Dixie's punching her back, and she punches Dixie in the mouth, and her veneers fall out, and she's got these like sharp shark teeth underneath her veneers, and she bites Patty, and Patty pushes her off the truck, and Dixie falls on the ground. Whether she's dead or not is yet to be seen, but she looks like she is. Now, before all of this has happened, the pastor comes to Patty and he's like, look, we need to get that parasitic twin out. It's pure evil. It's what I felt when I baptized you, and I thought that baptizing you would help it, but it hasn't, and we need to get that thing out because it's evil and it is demonic. Which now sets Patty into his tailspin, thinking that she's not cursed, but she's possessed. This show is getting weird, and where it will go, I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Notflix. If you enjoyed yourself here, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification. If you want to keep up with me on a more regular basis, you can follow me across all social media platforms that you can call me Skiff. If you want to be a friend, tell a friend. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.